There are some big lies we tell ourselves about being ace or arrow, and today I want to talk about them. I started Ace Dad Advice with a pretty simple mission. I wanted to make content that would help people who were struggling to embrace and accept their aspec identity get to the other side of that struggle. I wanted to give them tools and strategies and education that would help them live their best aspec lives. Most of the time, that means unlearning things that society teaches us about being aspec. That is, addressing normativities, addressing negative social messages, addressing our expectations and understandings about how we should relate to sex or relationships. But sometimes, the call is coming from inside the house. In my work, I've encountered a handful of ideas that seem to stick in the minds of aspec people as absolute, unquestionable truths. These are ideas that they hold to and cling to and will defend, even though they're harmful to them as an aspec person. And that's what this video is all about. 3 lies that we seem as aspec folks to tell ourselves about being ace and arrow that ultimately harm us and harm our relationship to our own aspec identity. So we're going to call out the lies, we are going to correct the lies, we're going to tell the truth and live our best aspec lives. It's not normal. I cannot tell you the number of times that I have encountered folks in the comment sections of content on various platforms who will argue tooth and nail that asexuality and aromanticism just isn't normal. Now, they're aspec themselves, but they will stick to this idea that no matter what you think, no matter what you say, no matter how you frame it, being ace or arrow is just not normal. Their argument is always, well, look at the rest of the world. Almost everyone else in the world is not ace or arrow. Almost everyone else in the world is designed for them. That must mean that we are not normal. And they frame their idea of self-acceptance as, I accept that I'm not normal. I'm okay with that. I am living with that. And that is sort of framed as accepting who they are. It's a lie. It's a lie, and we have to stop telling ourselves this. In the absolute broadest sense, there really is no such thing as normal. There are things and experiences and identities that show up more frequently than others. There are things and lives and identities that you will see more of, you'll hear more often, but frequency doesn't equal normality. The idea of normal is rooted in the idea that there are certain experiences or certain ways of being that are the default state, the expected state, how we are built. And everything else that exists outside of that set of experiences is a problem somehow. It's either like a brokenness or an illness or a deviance. Either you are sort of born outside of the norm or you put yourself outside of that by choosing to deviate. And that's just not how this works. When it comes to sexual and romantic orientations, all of the sexual and romantic orientations that exist are part of one big spectrum, one big menu of possibilities. And no one experience, regardless of how often it shows up, is more normal than another. It's what Gail Rubin, who is a queer theorist, describes as benign sexual variation. In this idea, Rubin sort of says, well, we assign sort of this is normal, this is not, this is good, this is bad, but all of that is really just a social construct. In reality, all of these options are just options on the table that are not morally weighted in either direction, and all of them are equally possible options. Yes, some show up more often than others, but that doesn't make them the default. That doesn't make them how we are built. In reality, all of the options are possible how we're built. So while being ace or arrow may not be common, while we may be a very small percentage of the population, we are still as equal an option, equal a possibility as any of the other sexual or romantic orientations. There's nothing abnormal about us. There's nothing abnormal about our experience. Being ace or arrow is simply one of the ways one can be in the world, equally real and equally valid as any other. No one will ever accept me. If you've been around Ace Dad Advice for a while, you know that I do a lot of relationship content. And I can put forward all the cool strategies and tools and ideas about pursuing relationships in an aspec affirming way. And I will always have people who adamantly insist that all of it doesn't matter, like none of these things are going to work because no one is ever going to accept someone who is ace or arrow. Lies, 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 so many lies, telling all the lies. The first thing I push back on is the absoluteness of it all. None of us should ever carry around the idea that we know how every other human being on this planet will react to some part of us from the jump without ever trying and without ever asking. Never is such a wild absolute. None of us can know the heart of every other person that we will ever encounter in our lives. When we say never, we close off all of our possibilities. We shut down all of the open doors. We cut ourselves off from every possibility. The other part I push back on is that I know aspec people who have successful relationships of all kinds. I am an aspec person who is in a variety of relationships and they are successful. So it always strikes me as really funny when someone says to me specifically, like, I will never be accepted. No one will ever accept me. When I'm like, friend, like, I am proof that never is not a real thing. I understand the impulse to protect oneself against rejection based on a previous set of experiences that included rejection. I know for a lot of aspec people, being turned down or being rejected for relationships is an experience that has happened more than once, more than twice, maybe many times in their lives. Allo people get rejected all the time too. Rejection is not a specifically aspec experience. Like, allo people also have to go through a lot of people to find the person that they're looking for. And if we as aspec people assume the worst and choose not to try, choose not to open ourselves to the possibility of someone embracing and loving who we are, we're denying the person or persons who are out there who actually will do that. Don't shut your options down. Sure, build a thick skin, because when you're aspec in an allo world, having a thick skin is a really important thing to have. But avoid saying never. Avoid turning your back on all the possibilities that could be out there. Be brave, be resilient, and try. A big thank you to my Patreon subscribers. These awesome folks help keep Ace Dad Advice going. So if you like this video and the other work I do, why not join us? Patrons get bonus content, discounts on digital workshops, access to the Ace Dad book club, and more. The link is in the description. I'm missing out on things. Something that I encounter very frequently in my work in Ace Dad Advice is grief and sadness. Grief and sadness from aspec folks about things that they believe they are missing out on. Things they're not going to be a part of, things they're not going to make a part of their lives. They feel like a lot of grief and sadness that those things aren't going to be theirs. There is a deep belief for a lot of aspec people that they are going to live a life that is constantly about missing out on something. Missing out on a specific feeling, missing out on a kind of attraction, missing out on a kind of relationship. A belief that being aspec is fundamentally about missing out. Lies. Lies, 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 all of it lies. You can't miss out on something that was never meant for you. We as aspec people are built with a certain set of possibilities that are available to us based on what kind of attractions we feel, what kind of relationships we desire, what kind of things we're comfortable doing. Those are our possibilities. Possibilities that lie outside of our set of possibilities aren't things that we miss out on. Those are just things that are for someone else. As aspec people, we are not built to experience and live the possibilities of allo people, and that's totally fine. While the world may tell you all the time that allo possibilities are the right possibilities and they're the possibilities everybody should want and the possibilities everybody should have, allo possibilities are just some possibilities. There's nothing particularly special about them, and there's nothing better about them than aspec possibilities. So when we cling to the idea that we are missing out on something, we are centering the possibilities of lives and people that we aren't meant to be. Instead of looking at allo experiences or allo possibilities as things that we are missing, things that we need to be sad that we're not participating in, things that we need to grieve as something we've lost, we should instead just look inside ourselves at what is possible for us, the attractions I feel, the relationships I'm interested in, the things that I want to do with the people that I'm in relationship with. Look at those possibilities, embrace those possibilities, and spend our energy chasing those possibilities. Because ultimately, the only thing you will be missing out on is living up to your full potential as an aspec person. So don't spend your time feeling like you're missing out on an allo life. Take the time you have, get out there, and make the best aspec life you can. So I hope that this was useful and that you will knock these 3 lies out of your brain and never let them back in. Because you deserve to live a life without them. You deserve your best aspec life. I look forward to seeing you in the next video, and as always, I'm glad you're here.